Hello, welcome to Board Deck and Dice. Let's talk about how to play Enchanters. Here we have everything from the up to the Overlord set, and there is a new set coming out on Kickstarter soon. Each player starts with a player mat. If you want, you don't need a player mat, but it does have a helpful way of tracking your attack and defense values, and they'll start with a Fist of Enchanting. We're playing with the basic setup here, although we do have some of the later on faction or journey decks. We have taken two journey decks, the demons and the golems, and shuffled them together. There is a suggestion in the rules that you can do this in a way that keeps monsters till later on, and that's probably a good way to do it. I've put out a couple of monsters just to demonstrate how they work. You will select at random, or if you prefer, choose one of the village cards, and this gives you some of your rules for the game. It gives you a multi-action. This is an action you can spend gems to do as many times as you want, and that can help you defeat monsters in the early game. It gives you some end game scoring, so here we're going to get 1 point for every 5 gems, and it tells you the rest action and how that works. You have gems, give 5 to each player. I've got 6 because counting is my strong point, and a pile of wounds. In this game, when you take wounds, you're never going to die, you're just going to take an increasing amount of wounds. There are some ways to heal wounds depending on the village and the deck setup, but they're basically going to be minus points at the end. So on your turn, you're going to choose to journey, which means to take one of these cards. The prices are printed underneath, or rest. So if we rest in this particular village, we will either take 3 gems or discard an item card to take 5 gems. Now, the most a card costs is 5 gems, so that might be quite handy. And of course, the Fist is providing us with no powers at the minute, they're just bog standard. So for our first go, let's say we decide to take this free card by journeying. We see that it has 1-2 strength. Now, why is this split in 2? Well, that's because everything you see is what you get in terms of power. So at the minute we would have 2 power. Let's say later on we take the Of Hell card. This would slide over the top, and now that 1 has disappeared, but now we have 2 here, 3 and 2 defense. So we also, when we rest, we can discard this card to steal the top item from another player. So we pop this here, applying the line. We don't, on the first card, we don't really need to do it stacked because there's nothing underneath, but you know, there you go. And then all these will move down, and another card will come out, and this time we have an Of Engineering. So let's say next time we decide to rest and get 3 gems, this card just gets discarded to the graveyard and everything else moves down and a new card comes out. Here we have Of Steam. So this time we're going to take the Pitchfork, we're going to pay 3 gems, pop it over our Fist, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks, so we can mark that off. 4 attack is enough to kill the imp, so we can, on our next turn, kill this, attack this imp by paying 1. So we pay 1, we attack the imp, we do it 4 damage, and it does us 1. So we may give that to another player, pop that there, because we took a wound from the imp, and probably you'd want to with the imp because it has a -2 points. But just like the other cards in the game, your monsters will stack and give you various bonuses, from points to defensive bonuses and possibly attacking bonuses. The game carries on like this until this deck of journeying is gone through. As you can see, we have a dragon here which is worth a lot of points. Some of the cards like Of Hell give you minus points at the end, but again, you can give this to another player. That arrow means there's an instant action. But let's say we took this, what would this do to our attack value? Well, our defense value is easy to work out, it's 2, but then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attack. So that's quite helpful despite the negative points there. All this drill will be good, so we could pay 5, stick that on top of there, and we can bury this card, which means to put at the bottom of your pile, so you still get the 1 there and get 3, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now, So that's how this stacking of your cards works, and again you will play through, and that is the very basic game. Let's look at what expansions and extra content there is up till now. To do that, I'm just going to get this very heavy box. Everything so far does fit in the Enchanters box, and slide it down. Villages, look how many villages there are in the game. I mean, this is ridiculous. They're all unique. They all have different multi-actions, different rest actions. Some have a bonus end game thing there. They're all illustrated really nicely, consistent icons, and I mean, talk about variety, look at that. You also may have noticed on the board there was a space for an overlord. Overlords come into play with a certain amount of bonus tokens, which kind of represents how many times they can be attacked. Every time you attack it, you take one of these, and that will give you a bonus at the end of the game, or potentially in the game. When it runs out of bonus tokens, that overlord is defeated. Now, this also has an invasion action. When you take a rest action, remember, you discard a card. If that card matches the type here or here, or whatever type, sometimes it's an item or enchantment, then you must do this action. And then we see that you add a bonus token to the village. If there is one bonus token per player on the village, replace it, then the current player takes 5 damage. So that's going to be quite key to get rid of that overlord. Overlords also come in to the co-op and solo modes, and there is ones that are specially made with all this extra complication for that, but there is also some overlay cards included which can go over the other overlords to make them more suitable for co-op play. What else do we get? We get an AI deck, we get classes and banners, and classes and banners are a way of giving each player unique starting enchantments and items. So we see here, unlike the basic ones, which were find them of enchantment, has nothing on it, this one actually does have stuff. After using rest, other players lose 1. So various actions, one of them even starts with some attack value, quite good that one, and you'll deal 2 of these out to each player and they will choose 1 to start with. So you'll have a bit of uniqueness starting off. Similarly, there is some items which replace your fist, give you some point scoring opportunities here after taking an enchantment, heal 1, dragons, and so on and so forth, just giving you a bit more variety in the game, not that it currently needs it. We also have an event deck. Events are shuffled in per player count. A certain amount of events are shuffled into the adventure deck, so the events will add a little bit of time onto the game length, as will the overlords, giving you an extra action. And when these come out, you just simply do what they say. Attached to the furthest monster, this monster has +1 health and +2 claws, and so on and so forth. Then lastly, we have the wound deck. This comes into play when you get 10 wounds, you swap them out for one of these. And again, look, joyously, these stack. Basically, when you get 10 wounds, you take a wound card and swap it for 10 wounds. If you ever heal down to under 10 wounds, then you can get rid of the card and take tokens again. And here we see this symbol here. Whenever you see the attack or the shield broken, that's like a minus, so that would take 1 off your attack. Then, as if we needed more variety in the game, we've already got so many overlords, so many villages. We have 21 possible factions that can make up the adventure deck. So I used 2 for a 2-player game. In a 3-player game, you would use 3 or 4. In fact, it might be 22 because I think I miscounted that one behind there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I was wrong. I missed the fairies because they were hidden behind the demons. So 22 decks. So this is at most a 5-player game. At most you're going to be using 5 decks a game. The variety and the smash up potential is huge. That's a brief overview of Enchanters. Enchanters might just be one of my favourite drafting games. I really like the way that you're not only drafting cards, but you're drafting equipment, and you're making that equipment have the link up between the names. I think is fantastic, but also that your old equipment is kind of, I guess in terms of the theme, you may think of reforged or repurposed into new ones, providing you with stat boosts or bonuses. In terms of the Enchanters Overlords, I haven't delved too much into the expansions. Happy that they are there to give me extra variety. The base game is strong enough, but it is a base game that has so much potential for expansion and adding bits on, and I can see why Mythic Games have picked this up to be the first in their Phoenix line. They actually said in the press release that this is a game they played in their office, and how do you, as designers of such fantastic games as Joan of Arc and Super Fantasy Brawl, how do you play a game like this and not have ideas that could even fit into your other universes? I could see a Super Fantasy Brawl set of weapons or set of cards and enemies kind of appearing in Enchanters. I always want to call it Overlords, but it's Enchanters. So although I don't know what's coming in the upcoming Kickstarter, I have every trust that it's going to be great stuff to add to the game if you're a fan of it. I have the Overlords box with the nice kind of faux leather mats, which aren't quite neoprene, they're not as thick as neoprene, and the bonus there is that they actually fit in the box, so I don't have to store them separately. They don't kind of get creased in the same way, and they just lie out, and I think they're a good little solution that's not neoprene or cardboard. Of course, you don't need the player board, but they do provide certainly in this one and the first edition, a kind of poster paper mat, and that was probably the worst component in there if I was being critical. But as far as a drafting game goes, it has that kind of familiar decreasing cost along the line, which we've seen in Century Spice Road, that sort of thing. But this one just has that, it's like, I don't know, like a charisma to it that makes me enjoy it more and more each time I play it. If you are new to the Enchanters world, you like a drafting game, you like kind of engine building really, so you stack your equipment and your weapons on top of each other, giving you more and more bonuses so that you can take on that end boss, or Overlord if you're playing with the Overlords, or adding in events, or doing a solo mode. There is so much content in here now that this makes it, for me, one of my favourite drafting games ever, and I should be excited to see what Mythic add into the Kickstarter. So rules are super easy. You can learn this game so quick. You can set it up and get going with people, and I would say yes, the more expansions and modules you add in, the longer that's going to take. But even stuff like having now you can have, which I've got to mention, unique decks to start with, so you don't all have the same basic fist of whatever it was to start with. You can have unique ones, and that's really great. So the rulebook's great. Fun, yes, I have a lot of fun in this in a short amount of time. It plays great, and I have loads of fun. Will I be keeping it in my collection? Absolutely. I'm very happy to have the second edition with the new artwork. I had played the first edition before, and the changes are minor, and you could actually use them together, but I like having all the same stuff. I like having it all in one box, and I like having all the extras. So thanks to Mythic Games for sending me that. But yeah, this is definitely staying in my collection. It's one that I probably would play over Bargain Quest, the recent drafting game that's been getting people's buzz and hype and attention. So for me, it's a real big winner, this one. I absolutely love Enchanters and look forward to the upcoming Kickstarter. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time on Board, Deck and Dice.